All right, welcome forward in this training. This is the exact script that I use in my practice and the exact script that we use to train our admins that we place into other folks' practices across the country. Now, this script is probably a little bit better for longer, conversations. I typically look at this from a 12-plus minute phone conversation. This is really needed most for those practices that uh, higher ticket, right? 150 plus is usually kind of what I like to say. I think this has a little bit more slant towards orthopedics, but it can absolutely, the fundamentals of it can absolutely be pulled into other type of practices, functional med, med spa, some of these others. Forward in the training, I do have a shorter script if you guys run a higher volume or you just don't need to have that robust of a conversation, if you will. So this is the exact script. This is a little bit about our story here with this companion guide. Like I was literally losing $10,000 every single month in my practice on the paid Facebook ads that I was running, which it was an absolute mess. Could not understand why we couldn't turn as high of a return on our investment as I was hoping we would. And we were just losing a lot of money. So I've got this crazy example in here, and things that I did or tried, right? It's like the patient would ask me, do you take my insurance? And my front desk would say, no, we don't. And then they would just drop the price, right? Which is a big, big problem that I see a lot of you other practice owners or your front desk do is somebody asks about insurance or they ask about cost and they just simply drop they just drop their cost in there, which is a major issue. I now have not transferred any value between the person that I'm talking to, and it's like if they ask me what the cost of the visit is, and I say, yeah, it's $1,000, but they have no context for what that is, or even $500 or $200, whatever your session cost is. If they don't have an idea of what the value is, then they don't even know what they're getting. If I say, yeah, the visit's $200, they're like, well, that's a lot. That's awful expensive. But if I'm like, hey, it's $200 and it comes with a new car, it's like, oh, dude, that's a no-brainer. There's so much value provided there, and that's oftentimes what you guys are providing. You're providing something very good and superior compared to other practices, but your front desk doesn't convey that, and they just drop the price, right? So I do have another training on this, so peek that forward in school if you're in our school community. Um, this is exactly what was happening. So, the patient's going to ask about insurance, and if we kind of overcome that, we're able to, word vomit all the benefits of working with us. Then what's going to happen is that person um, either comes in and they object and they come in for one session, or what they do is they cancel or no show us, which is a major issue as well. It's clogging up the schedule. Your front desk was super nice, super kind, and that's what was happening to us. They would just cancel or no show us, and it was super frustrating. I think we only had one other provider at that point that we were trying to get full, and it was just an absolute mess. So, um, the big mistake I think a lot of you make too is you assume that the patient cares about you. Patients are inherently selfish. They care about their own journey and they want to know, how am I going to get back to where I want to go? Is this the right place? And is this the right time to get my issue solved? And so things patients don't care about, look, they don't care that we're one on one for an entire hour. Like that's a unique thing about us. They just don't care about it as much, right? It's not as it's becoming more and more commonplace. They don't care that we can do cupping or manipulation or dry needling or massage, whatever. They don't care about those things. Can I get better? Yes or no? They don't care about your next cool gadget, your BFR, your laser, your Graston, any other number of things. Shockwave is really popular right now. Anything that you possibly offer, like they don't care about that. And when you try to sell that to them on the phone, they don't even know what it is, right? They don't care about the doctor having a bunch of certifications after their name. It's like they don't care that they've been to fellowship. They don't care about all these things. They just want to know, are you going to be able to get me better? And then, uh, they don't care about, people deal with pain for another 6 months, right? We try to make these conversations only about pain. And that's not like, that's why people deal with things for 6 plus months. There's 6 years even sometimes. Like somebody would say, well, hey, Chris, I need to come see you guys. I saw your ad on Facebook. And, oh, well, how long have you been dealing with this? Oh, yeah, like 2 years. And it's like, why is this going on? Like, why are you reaching out for help now? And it's bizarre to me that somebody would, um, wait that long before they actually want to reach out and get help. But the reality is people don't get help until it starts affecting something deeper in their life. They have something coming up, whether it's a race or whether it's, hey, I can't bend down and play with my kids anymore, or I can't work out, or now it's affecting me at work. Whatever the case may be, it has to be affecting something beyond just having pain, or it's gotten so bad that it's getting in the way of their life, right? Like obviously, if somebody's in like crazy, acute, nasty, brutal pain, like they're definitely going to come in, but they're not going to commit to trying to solve the problem long term. Things patients do care about, and this is what they want to know at the end of the first phone call, is do you help people like me? Is this a problem you can help me with? Can I continue to do what I love or get back to doing what I love? And how long is this going to take? And what's the path to get back to doing what I want? If your front desk can answer all of these questions, and you can do that in your evaluation, these are the people that are going to be much more inclined to actually show up for their appointment, actually purchase a plan of care with you, and actually see it through to the end. But if you're not answering these things on the first phone call, especially if somebody who is a little skeptical or somebody who kind of thinks that they can solve their problem on their own, these people aren't going to come in, and we have to be able to overcome that. So, um, big thing that I noticed, and this is how important the front desk is I listed this chart here, and the crazy thing that you'll see is we were only converting 29% of our Facebook leads to actual evaluation. So you can see total leads, total evaluations, only 29% were coming in, and it was absolutely like the the amount of plans of care that we were selling and the amount of revenue we were getting just from Facebook was really really low. Now, if you take that into January, I got less total leads. I had more total evaluations, and I actually had more plans of care sold. Right, so our plans of care are, our plans of care are $1,500 plus, and what was happening was is these people are their lifetime value is so low because I had 15 people coming in here, and only five of them were actually buying a plan of care. Right, our plan of care percentage was 45%. And so what was crazy to me was is we were selling 14 plans of care compared to uh, compared to five, and we had less leads coming in. It was just crazy to me. We were spending less money on ads, and my revenue was nearly tripled just from these Facebook ads simply by us having a better phone conversation. We didn't change anything about the in office sales process. I didn't change anything about what we were doing in the clinic from a manual therapy standpoint or how we were pitching the evaluation. I didn't change our prices. I didn't lower our prices. I didn't raise our prices. All of those other areas stayed exactly the same. The only thing I changed was is I fired my front desk who was underperforming and wasn't having solid conversations, and I actually got a rock star A player, and I started leading and managing her, and we tweaked our first phone conversation so that we provided more value. We talked less, and this person talked more. That was the main goal and the only thing we changed here. And so more leads are showing up, more people are actually scheduling their evaluations, more showing up, and more are actually purchasing packages, which led to a massive change in our overall revenue for leads. And so, uh, look, I was losing, what is that, $10,000 roughly every single month for 6 months before I finally figured it out. And what I don't want you guys doing is kicking the can down the road and you wasting another 6 months and possibly $10,000 plus a month as well. This didn't even include some of the organic traffic that I'm sure we were losing out on as well. So, uh, what I did was is I have basically listed the front desk sales training. This is literally the exact training that I implemented to create this change in our practice and what I train all of our other admins on at this point. Obviously, look, this script is a good template. Ultimately, I think you're going to have to tweak some of the elements, especially the closing pitches are going to have to be a little more specific to you. But some of these questioning pieces are really, really good, and don't just gloss over and say, "Well, I'm not a PT practice, so therefore I don't need those." So, um, big thing, this is kind of just getting in the framework. What is a sales call? Mindset before a call for your admin. Some silly little things like making sure you're logged into your EMR. Like I'll hear some phone calls or I'll do some secret shopper calls sometimes to clinics, and the front desk is just fumbling with things and they're flipping pages and it's just this awkward delay. And what I don't want to have happen is any awkwardness on that first phone call. So let's get into the meat of this now. So when we get into the sales script, I need to just, whether I'm calling or this person answers, obviously, like if someone's calling in, then you don't need to ask, um, you don't need to state your name necessarily, but it's like, either way, now what we want to do is, hey, hey, this is John with Be Ready Performance Therapy. Is this so and so? And when somebody, people just don't pick up the phone anymore, and they want to know, all right, this random number that's calling me, who is this person? And it lets them know immediately, this is who I am. I know your name, and here's why I was calling. Awesome. Well, hey, John. I noticed you inquired on our website about scheduling an appointment. Now, oftentimes this can be where you get the insurance objection, but you want to try to be a leader on this phone call, right? That's the single most important thing, is to be a leader here. And when we're a leader on these phone calls, it prevents the insurance objection from popping up too early. And that's why I like just getting right into building rapport and those kind of things. But every once in a while, somebody will come out of the gate with this. And if they do, what you want to say is, hey, we can definitely chat about insurance. I was, and I'll give you all the details of that. But before I do, I really just want to make sure that I can help you. What I don't want to do is waste your time, giving you a bunch of extraneous information that may or may not be helpful if I can't even help you. So, you mind if I ask you a few questions? Does that work for you? Something along that frame, or hey, I was hoping to learn a little bit more to make sure we're a good fit and that we can actually help you. After basically what will happen is I'm going to ask you a few questions, and if I think we're a good fit, then we can discuss insurance and cost and all that good stuff. Does that work for you? And very seldom do I get anybody who pushes back and they're just like, oh no, I want to know about insurance like right now. Every once in a while, it'll pop back up towards the middle of the call, but you got to think that's what these people's goals are. They're calling to learn more about you, but you're also trying to learn about them, and you have to take leadership and ownership of that phone calls to make sure that you can actually help them. But if you disclose this information out of the gate, man, you're going to lose a lot of patients that way. Now, we got some intro and just build rapport. Look, spend 1 to 3 minutes here, making some small talk. Ask them how their day is, ask them how their weekend was. Hey, how's the weather? Yada yada. Like, just make them comfortable and make it sound less sterile than, yeah, hey, what's your name? What's your date of birth? When do you want to come in? What's your insurance? Like, it's just so sterile, right? And that's going to get those insurance objections and cost objections really, really early on. Now, we want to set the tone for the call. And what I mean by that is that assumes your leadership and says, hey, I'm going to take control of this call and ask you some questions. And so, hey, John, here's the goal of our call today. Like, I'd love to learn a little bit more about why you decided to reach out to us. I'm going to learn a little bit about what you have going on. And if I feel like it's something we can help you with, then we can talk about getting you scheduled for a visit. How does that sound? Lets them know we're planning on scheduling them for a visit if they're a good fit. And it says, I'm going to ask questions here and let you talk and communicate with us. And that's the big thing that we want to have happen here. Now, here's the meat of the call is the discovery. This is the most important part of the phone call. We want to be able to spend some time digging in and like basically like a hunting dog, really trying to sniff out all the details and be very curious about what they have going on. The more curious you can be and the more details you can get into this, the better the conversation is going to go. But so often this discovery portion lasts 2 minutes. It's, hey, what do you have going on? Oh yeah, I have shoulder pain. Oh, how long's it going on? A couple months. Does it keep you from doing anything? No, not really. Oh, okay. Well, great. You sound like a perfect fit for us. And then you just move right into scheduling. And this portion needs to be the bulk of the phone conversation where we get this person to talk and tell their story. Now, some people will just vomit and they'll blast you for 10 minutes with all their information. You have to assimilate it. On the flip side, you'll get some people who give you nothing. And that's where a lot of these questions can be helpful to steer the person who talks too much, but also the person who is not talking very much, just some questioning to pull out of them. So I need to know why they're seeking help now, and I need to know where they want to go, right? And I need there to be a gap between these two areas. And if there's a gap between those two areas, then the person's actually going to be inclined to want to come in. But if there's no gap, then there's no problem, right? There's no reason for this person to want to come in. And so we need to ask open-ended questions to start, and then we can funnel down and get much more specific as we go. Well, tell me tell me a little bit about what's going on, or what has you reaching out. You can ask things like, hey, how did this injury and pain happen? And how long has it gone on? Now, once we have an idea of what the problem is, I need to figure out everything that they've done or tried to solve this problem, or as I like to sometimes call it when I'm teaching my admins, Hell Island. I need to find out all the details and the problems and the things that they've done. Think about it. People love a great story, right? And when somebody overcomes a lot of problems, it makes for a great story. And we want to find all those things that they've tried to overcome. So, what have they done prior? Who have they seen? How's this impacting them, or what's it keeping them from doing? The other big thing I want to know is, have you seen a PT, a chiro, a dentist, whatever your practice is? Have you seen them before? And what was your experience like? Was it something you liked, something you didn't like? And sometimes they'll say, "Oh yeah, it was a good experience." Well, is there any particular reason why you're reaching out to a new PT? And now I want to know what their objection was. What was the reason they left the other practice, or what's the reason they're looking for a different type of discipline? Maybe we're a PT practice. Maybe they've seen a chiro. Maybe they've seen another PT. Maybe they've seen a functional med doc, and now we're like the fourth person that they've seen. And I want to know why that's the case. And because what you don't want to find out is, oh, they hate dry needling and that person was dry needling them. And then we talk about dry needling at the end of our call, or the PT brings it up, then they're going to be out the door super quick. Or, I hated just doing exercises in the corner. Now, great. Well, we don't do that, right? Like, I'm literally going to be spending the entire hour with you, and we can use that as a unique selling point for why we can be able to help them, right? The other big thing is, how is this impacting you, or what's it keeping you from doing? Sometimes, especially men, will tend to tell you, well, it's not keeping me from doing anything. And what I want to make sure is that we're actually getting a good answer to that question. Too many of you guys will hear that, and you'll just say, well, it's not keeping me from doing anything. Oh, okay. And then you just move on, right? Like, there has to be a gap between where they are and where they want to go. So once we establish Hell Island, everything they've done or tried, every place that they've been, their kind of journey over the last few months to solve this, what I want to know is where they want to go. Well, hey, well, tell me. I mean, tell me what your goal is for like the short term, or what are you trying to get back to doing? And now they'll start talking about working out. They'll start talking about some of these other more important things to them, to their life. Because again, remember, it's not just about pain. It's about ultimately them and their journey. Can you help me get back to doing what it is that I want to do? And you want to spend a good bit of time here. Because again, if this is where they are and this is where they want to go, they have no reason to want to come in and see you. I need to know what that ultimately big, audacious goal is, if you will, right? So what are they trying to get back to doing? Hey, what's your short-term goal? Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, like, what's your long-term goal? um, some other questions you can ask. You can maybe shift this down after you go a little bit deeper, but like, hey, like, what happens if nothing changes and you're stuck with this pain for the next several years, right? Like, those are legitimate questions and things we want to know and ask these people. What goals do you have? Make it specific to them. How many days a week, if it's a runner, how many days a week do you want to be working out or running? What are you doing currently? And what are you having to avoid either at the gym or with your running? Now, we want to go 3 levels deep with them during this portion of finding their goals. I want to find out why, find out when they have pain, right? Hey, at the first level of that, hey, it hurts when I run, right? Most people will stop there and that's it. But I need to take this to the next level. I need to find out why their activity is important to them. So I might ask them, well, see, it hurts when you run. Well, like, why is running important to you? Well, then they may go into, well, weight helps me be less stressed, or weight helps me keep, or running helps me keep my weight off, or running helps me be less stressed. Running helps me clear my head, right? Like, all those things. Now we need to find out the deepest reason why they're coming in, right? So, hey, so running's important to you. Sounds like you've been on a little bit of a weight loss journey. Like, why is keeping your weight down like important to you? And then now they're talking about, well, I have kids and like my dad had heart disease and I want to prevent that. And like that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm personally pretty active, right? Like, and my parents just took terrible care of themselves, and I don't want, that's why I'm active. And you need to get to that level of depth. And it seems a little crazy. It's like, wow, we're just talking about scheduling an appointment, and now we went from talking about, hey, knee pain with running to this person's like sobbing on the phone because we're talking about, keeping my weight down, and like that's just, it seems silly, but when we can get to that level of depth and we can truly understand why somebody's coming in, and you get some people that just volunteer this information right away. Oh yeah, I picked up running to help me keep my weight down, and oh, that's cool. Well, like, how much weight have you lost? Oh, I've lost 50 pounds. It's like, wow, that's incredible. Like, over what time frame? And now you're just carrying a conversation. It sounds a little bit more natural, but I think sometimes your front desk has trouble getting into that depth. And that's where in the early goings, just asking why. Well, like, why is that important to you? Or why is, keeping your weight off important to you? How much weight have you lost? And you just diving into that a little bit deeper and getting beyond just this superficial level can go a really long way in taking someone who was a complete stranger 5 minutes ago to actually wanting to come in and pay $200 for a session. Because once they've shared that information to you, you guys feel bonded, you feel connected, and they're not going to be sticker shock when you talk about it's $200, because they're like, wow, this person on the phone got this much information out of me and we really bonded. And like, that's absolutely crazy to me. I can only imagine what's going to actually happen in the clinic. What you don't want to do is have your front desk leave a sour taste in the mouth of your prospective client, because now they're never going to come in, and if their friend asks, they're going to tell them to go to the other clinic that they went to as opposed to coming to see you. So another way to ask this is, hey, we've talked a ton about running. Why is it important to get back to? Whatever the case, you just got to dive a little bit deeper. Okay. Now, the last piece of this is I want to create a little bit of doubt. For some people, you don't have to create doubt. Like, they're just like, hey, I know I need help. And, I was told I need to reach out to a physical therapist. That's why I'm reaching out to you guys, and I really need to get scheduled. Okay, great. I don't think you need to create doubt in those people's minds. But you get the people where you say, well, what is this keeping you from doing? And they're like, oh, nothing really. Or, well, how long has this gone on? Oh, it's only gone on a few weeks. And what does it keep you from doing anything? No, not really. Oh, do you think that there's any reason why you won't be able to get back to, running or achieving your goals? Oh, no, not really. And it's like this person has doubt in their mind, right? Like, they think that they can figure it out on their own. These are the type of people who they've bought in, like, they're a runner and they've bought in 15 different pairs of shoes over the last years to fix their problem, and it hasn't fixed it. So we want to create doubt before we go in to ask about money. And it's like, hey, can I ask you a question? Like, what do you feel like's prevented you from figuring this out on your own? Or another way to say it, hey, do you feel like you actually have a specific strategy or plan to be able to not only get rid of your symptoms, but get you back to running 10 miles a week, right? And this is the tonality is really important there, right? That kind of downward flecting tonality where, almost acting curious as opposed to, well, can I ask you a question? What do you feel like's prevented you from figuring this out on your own, right? Like, it just sounds kind of condescending, if you will. But if you're real downward flecting tone, this can go a long way. And if your front desk can ask these tough questions, you're not going to have many cancels or no shows, right? So once we've figured out in gory detail what their goal is, and I'm talking, hey, I want to know weight loss goal to a T, I want to know running mileage to a T, I want to know exactly how much information is, how far they are from where they are now to where they want to go. Hey, I want to run a 5K in X time frame. That's a specific goal, and I like running because it helps me keep my weight down. Once I have that information, we'll create doubt if we need to. We'll repeat their answers back to them. Again, be very specific here. So, John, like, I just want to recap and make sure I didn't miss anything. Here's what I heard. You're currently experiencing knee pain when you run. It's limiting you from making long distance runs, but you are able to run some. You ultimately want to be able to run a 5K this year, but currently you're limited to running no longer than 10 minutes. Running is important to you because it helps you keep your weight down, and ultimately you want to be able to keep this weight down so that you can be healthy and keep up with your kids. Does that sound, about right? Now it just shows you were listening, helps make sure you didn't miss anything, and you can even ask here, well, I just want to make sure, did I miss anything? Does that sound about right? No, that's pretty spot on. Sometimes they'll interject, well, oh yeah, like I also have knee pain or I also have back pain, and you can maybe catch some of that information here as well. We want to repeat a relevant patient story back to them here, right? The more specific you can make these, the better. If you work with a lot of runners, you can literally get a person's name and talk about the journey that you overcame them with. This is kind of just a generic example, but again, people love stories, and they can really go a long way. Now we want to set some expectations, and let them know how it works. So, hey, look, you sound like you'd be a good fit for our practice. Would you like me to share a little bit more about what it would look like to work with us? And now they're gonna like, yeah, that's exactly why I'm on the phone. That's just what I'm wanting to talk about. And now in gory detail, this is a big transition point from this person doing all the talking to now I'm going to do all the talking and really let them know how things are going to work. So I want to tell them exactly what the first session looks like, and I want to tell them what future sessions look like because I don't want there to be any weird divide or any weird confusion around these. Exactly. I don't want to mismanage their expectations, right? If their expectations are mismanaged and there's confusion, then these people either don't show up or they only show up for one visit and then they leave a bad Google review, right? So here's exactly what our first sessions look like. Hey, so the first steps, you come in for an initial evaluation, and then I basically tell them exactly what that looks like. Look, we're going to try to find the root cause of your problem. Once I have an idea of what's going on, your PT is going to educate you and build you a customized game plan. And I make it about their pain point, and I mention their goals specifically. Now, the other big thing is I say, hey, look, the initial evaluation is a great first start, but it's not going to be the silver bullet. Most of our clients, they usually need a follow up session to not only get out of pain, but really I'm about preventing this from coming back in the future. And I'm kind of planting that seed and planting that nugget that, hey, the initial evaluation isn't the only point. And this is especially big for Facebook leads and those kind of things, or someone who's a little bit of a colder traffic because they just don't know how things work. And I need them to know you can't just come in for one session and hope that I'm going to solve your problem. Like if that was the case, I'd have a line wrapped 40 times around the building because people want to solve their pain that quickly. So once I tell them initial session, then I need to tell them what follow up sessions look like because that's ultimately what most people are going to need. So I tell them how our practice is different. Look, we're one on one for every session, and I'm going to pass you off to techs or aides and all that good stuff. The first half of the session is mostly some hands on stuff. The back half is mostly us progressing your exercises. And really, there's no reason for you to come in 2 or 3 times a week like you would in a traditional PT practice. Now, this is big because in typical PT world, like they're off in the corner, they're doing the same 3 exercises. The tech is helping them through. They don't even see the PT for more than 10 minutes. They're going 2 or 3 times a week, and people hate it, right? So I need to call out the biggest objection that people have to going to traditional PT. So maybe same thing if you're a chiro and your practice is a little bit different, or functional med. What's the typical medical model look like? Hey, you wait in the waiting room for an hour and you get 5 minutes of my time, and then we send you out the door with a new prescription, right? And so you tell them how you're different, right? And this is where you can really tweak this and make it more specific. So what's your initial eval? What's your future sessions look like? And then what's long term? Long term, I want you independent as possible. Like I don't want you having to come in here 2 or 3 times a week to get better. And look, each time you come in, I'm going to put my hands on you to reduce your pain. And I want to prevent this from coming back. And we typically do that with corrective exercise and a customized home exercise program that we're going to progress every single time. And you're not doing the same 2 to 3 exercises, right? That's the big thing. Now, once we tell them kind of what the lay of the land looks like, first session, future sessions, again, tweak this to make it specific to you. I want to do what's called a tie down. This is critical. Nobody's doing this. Like, I paid so much money to go through some like sales training, and this was a huge golden nugget that I got for some of our sales conversations and that we've added into our phone calls. What most people do is they just blast through information, they get the person scheduled, they don't listen to their tone, and they roll with it. And now this person cancels or no shows on you, and it drives you nuts. And I want to get some buy-in from this person and make sure that they actually want to come in. So if you don't do this, again, it's going to result in cancels or no shows. And so I like to say this: hey, look, I know that's a ton of information. What's really important to us as a practice is that our patients feel really good about the process and the plan when they're working with us. So that said, like, how do you feel about our process or how we do things? And we want to listen to their tone. If they're like, yeah, this sounds incredible, like this is exactly like what I've been looking for, awesome. Well, since you feel good about the process, would you like me to get you scheduled for your initial evaluation? Gives them permission to get them scheduled. They say yes. Boom, let's go ahead and get them scheduled now. If you get the uncertain tone, then now is your last opportunity to handle objections before we talk about money. But if I've got somebody who's unsure and we're talking about money, they're not going to come in, or they'll schedule and then they'll cancel or no show you. So if they're uncertain and they're like, "Yep, that sounds good," and it's like, "Are you sure? Like you seem a little unsure. Like do you still have any questions, or maybe I just didn't do a good enough job explaining this?" And then handle any objections. Well, do you help people like me? Have you seen this before? I think maybe I need surgery. Are you sure that you guys can help me? Well, I'm just worried about the cost. Oh, money aside, like, do you feel good about the process, right? Now that is that opportunity. Once you handle all those objections, then let's go ahead and get them scheduled. But this is critical right here. If you guys can do this, I guarantee you'll overcome some people who, chat with them a little bit and get them over the line to get them scheduled. So we want to leverage some scarcity here. I don't want to be like, hey, yeah, I've got anything open. What do you want? I got 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like you don't sound very valuable at that point. I want to leverage some scarcity, even if your schedule isn't exactly completely full. I know most of the time in these like smaller cash practices, there's usually same day availability. But then we want to finish with full transparency. Now is the point. I'll tell them my network status. I'll tell them I'm out of network. I'll tell them the cost, and I'll tell them exactly how often people see us on average, and I point out, tell them I'm out of network. So for full transparency, the initial cost is 225 for our initial evaluation, and then I want to discuss how long we're anticipating this to take you to reach XYZ goal. So most of our patients, they need to see us for 6 to 10 sessions. We're technically out of network with insurance, even though all of our patients who do see us, they do have insurance. They just choose not to use it because of the quality of care that they're able to get with us. So we're looking forward to working with you. I just want to make sure that you're aware of our strict cancellation policy, and then I basically let them know of the cancellation policy as well. And then I say, hey, do you have any questions for us? Again, I'm in gory detail telling them the cost, and then at that session I can tell you exactly how many visits you're planning on seeing us. But most of the time our patients do see us between 6 and 10 sessions. This is exactly, we have a 6 visit package. Well, we recently changed this. We have an 8 visit package and a 12 visit package. And so we say 8 to 12 now on the phone, but whatever the case, how many average visits people see you, what's the average cost, because I don't want somebody sticker shocked when I'm like, hey, you need a 6 visit package at 225, and they're sticker shocked. We just need to make sure that there's no surprises when they come in. Now, the other slick thing that you may not have noticed and I didn't talk about was I got this person scheduled first. I got them committed, and then I talked about the cost and insurance and those kind of things, because now I know that that person's really bought in. If we're talking about money and I didn't do a tie down and we're talking about money, this person's not going to schedule. Let's tie down, let's get them scheduled, and then we can talk about the nuances, because now you may be able to talk about insurance and cost a little bit. And it's usually rare that somebody's going to cancel at that point. You know that you got them, but I provided value. I listened to their story. I talked to them for 10 to 15 minutes, and now I got this person on the books, and we're in really good shape. So hopefully the script is helpful to you. There's a lot of really good information in here, a lot of good questions. Again, be excited for them at the end that they took the next right step, and then moving forward. And we got these objection handling in the future videos. So either way, let me know if you have questions, and we'll talk.